Star Wars only, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
Is the sequel trilogy worse than the prequel trilogy? I know that's a hot topic and a hot take to talk about, but there's an interesting article from CNET talking about this, talking about the differences between the trilogies that we have, and of course the prequel trilogy was completely controlled by George Lucas. One man's creative vision helmed all three of those films compared to the original trilogy, where it was a lot more of a collaborative effort. And then you have the sequel trilogy, which is controlled from a multitude of people. There's a lot of people who have creative input, a lot of studio executives that have a lot of say in how the story evolves compared to what you have with the prequels and the originals, when it really that came from 5 people down to 1 person in the prequel trilogy. And this article really talks about what people don't like about the sequels and what they liked about the prequels compared to the sequels, at least. The first part they talk about is just the effects, the innovation that you have with the prequel trilogy, despite the flaws that it has with the dialogue. That's probably the one thing that the sequels are inarguably better than the prequels, is the dialogue and the writing of the characters. This, however, in the prequel trilogy, the innovative mindset that Lucas had when it came to visual effects is not there with the sequel trilogy. A lot of the effects that you have in the sequel trilogy is stuff we've already seen before. It's just big blockbuster action movie stuff. When it came to the prequels, it was not only the first films to actually do digital technology to film instead of using actual film. Lucas was the first director to actually use digital cameras to record his movies. Then you have the special effects that went into the prequels. That there were a lot of things in the prequels that had never been done before, and one of them being Jar Jar, having an actor play a fully CGI digital character like that, and then you go in and put him into the scene next to Liam Neeson. Stuff like that was innovative for its time. You don't have that with the sequel trilogy. There's not a lot of innovation, and it even brings up some of the action that you have. One of the scenes in The Force Awakens where Finn and Rey are flying the Millennium Falcon on Jakku, and it was a nice, fun little scene, but compare that to Attack of the Clones, where you have Jango Fett and his son Boba Fett chasing down Obi-Wan in the Geonosis space area with all the meteorites and whatnot. They use a lot of cool sound design for that. You have Obi-Wan, who is the predator and he becomes the prey. He talks about how it changes things up like that, and you don't get that a lot with the new sequel trilogy, which, you know, he's got a point there. And one of his big points about the new things that you see in the prequels that you really don't see too much in the sequels is the planets. The planets that you visit are more or less the same. There's a desert planet that's Jakku, and there's another one called Pisana in Rise of Skywalker. There's a forest planet, a snow planet, and a city planet. You have the, Canto Bight, which is probably the most innovative planet that we've seen so far in the sequel trilogy, but that doesn't feel very lived in. He talks about how you look at Jabba's palace on Tatooine, that feels a little more lived in when you visit that location than you would at Canto Bight. Canto Bight feels like Las Vegas. I mean, it really didn't feel, in my opinion, like a Star Wars planet that we would actually want to visit to and go to. It feels like something I could drive to Nevada and go visit myself. So there's things like that that kind of take you out of the film. And his next point is talking about the characters. And let's be honest, the characters in the prequel trilogy aren't the cream of the crop, and I think that was purposeful by Lucas. Lucas is not a big character-driven kind of writer or director at all. He's about the visuals, and with the prequels, he was mainly about the story. And because of that, your characters in the prequels aren't protected by plot armor like you have in the sequel trilogy, where you have characters like Qui-Gon Jinn, who's one of the main characters in The Phantom Menace, and he dies at the end, and so does your main villain, Darth Maul. Then you get to the other films, you have Mace Windu, who dies. The younglings die. There's so many characters. Even Padme dies at the end of Revenge of the Sith. There's a lot of characters that die in the prequels, and that's simply because they're not protected by plot armor. Shmi, Anakin Skywalker's mom, she dies at the end of, well, not really at the end, but like halfway through Attack of the Clones. She also dies, and she was one of the main characters that you saw in The Phantom Menace. There's a lot of characters that die because they're not protected by plot armor, because the story needs them to die. It's just part of the story and part of how it goes. And in this article, he says the prequel trilogy is a bloodbath, and that gives the movies real tension. And he's absolutely right, because when you compare that to the sequel trilogy, it feels like someone like Rey can do whatever she wants, whenever she wants. She doesn't have too many struggles. It seems like she obviously defeated Kylo Ren in the first film, and when it came to the second film of The Last Jedi, she was always in the right. She was the one who was kind of complaining at Luke and telling him what he's doing wrong, and, you know, she can do whatever she wants. And, you know, good for her, but I don't have any tension when I see her in a situation, because I know she's going to live and survive and be the hero at the end. And that takes you out of the film. If you don't have tension in your movies, you lack interest because then you already know what's going to happen. And a big problem that he points out in this article is that there's a clusterfuck of characters in the sequel trilogy. Each trilogy normally has its trio of main leads and characters that you're supposed to care about. In the prequels, it was Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme, and then you have the original trilogy, it's Han, Luke, and Leia, and then you get to the sequel trilogy, it's Rey, Poe, and Finn. But with the sequel trilogy, you have the extra layer of characters, which are the original trilogy characters, Han, Luke, and Leia, and they're killing them off one by one in each trilogy. And it's kind of unfortunate because it's like you have these 3 new characters that we're supposed to be connected to and we're supposed to experience these adventures with, because that's what Star Wars normally is, the nice little fairy tale adventure that we go on. But a big problem with the sequel trilogy is that we can't focus on our new characters because we're so determined to talk about and focus on our other characters from the original trilogy. You look at Han, Luke, and Leia, each one of them is supposed to have their own film in the sequel trilogy, and that's come from Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm herself, who has said The Force Awakens was about Han Solo, The Last Jedi was about Luke, and Episode 9, before Carrie Fisher sadly passing, that was supposed to be about her. So it's kind of odd to look at the sequel trilogy and say we gotta focus on these 3 new characters while also basically dedicating each film to killing off the old characters that we already know. That takes you out of looking at the new characters, that takes you out of caring about the new characters, even considering that they haven't really gone on an adventure together. Poe and Rey didn't meet until the end of The Last Jedi. Compare that to Attack of the Clones, you have Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan on Geonosis working together. They're all at that arena in that battle. That's not a great adventure for them, but that's an adventure that they're going on together. That's building those connections, or lack thereof, because there's some tension that goes on between those characters in the future. But still, you have these characters together and working together. You don't get that until Episode 9 of this new trilogy. The 3rd act of this trilogy is when you get all the characters together to go on this adventure. And it's things like this that I think a lot of people feel like the sequels missed the mark. They feel safe. The story is very safe, and that's what this article continues to go on to. It says, like any studio, Disney fears losing money. Though I'm not privy to the inner workings of the studio, money seems the clearest motivator for shutting down the Star Wars anthology movies after Solo's poor returns. And yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Lucas didn't care if people liked his films or not. It's one thing you gotta love about the man, and that I respect him, is that if you told Lucas, hey, I didn't like the prequels, he's like, I don't fucking care. I don't care if you liked them or not. I made them, they're my movies, kiss my ass. Alright, fair enough, George. I didn't like them, and I can respect exactly how you feel about that thing. And you don't have that with the sequel trilogy. It's meant to be a nostalgic thing. The Force Awakens was a clear nostalgic factor of bringing Star Wars audiences back into Star Wars and giving you that feel of Star Wars, which is great. I liked The Force Awakens, and I thought it did its job of getting us interested in Star Wars. At the end of The Force Awakens, I truly was interested in the story and where it was going to go. But the story, like Luke's lightsaber, went off a fucking cliff when it came to The Last Jedi, and it feels like we missed a potentially great story. We missed something new. If you like the sequels, I have no problem with that at all. You like what you like. I can't change your mind on that. But I really think that the sequels missed potential storytelling moments. The Last Jedi was really big on subverting expectations just for the sake of subverting it. You thought you were going to get a reveal on Snoke? Haha, little did you know. You thought you were going to get a reveal on Rey's parents? Haha, little did you know. You thought there was going to be a lightsaber battle? Haha, little did you know. Prequels didn't do that. Prequels didn't try to subvert your expectations just for the sake of subverting them. The prequels weren't trying to do anything to bank off nostalgia. They were really just trying to tell a story. Whether they did it great or not is completely up for debate. I don't think they're the greatest films of all time, and I don't think they match the magic of the original trilogy, but damn it, they tried. That's the biggest takeaway I have from this article, and that I want you to take from this video, is that at least they tried. I don't feel like the sequels tried. I don't feel like they tried to tell a new story that we haven't seen before. I think they were really just banking on the money. I mean, that's fine. I get it. When you're a studio and you're trying to make money and you're buying something like Star Wars, of course, you don't want this film to flop. Of course, you don't want to just make something for the hell of making it. But what's the point of picking up the Star Wars story if you're not going to innovate it? Star Wars has always been an innovative franchise. It's not Marvel. It's not something you can come out with a movie every year and just say, alright guys, good luck, hope you guys like that. If not, we're going to come out with another one in 4 or 5 months and try again. No, this is something that actually has impact on our culture, our society, because it is so engraved into our culture and society from the 70s. And I think we've missed the mark a little bit. I think we've missed the Lucas magic of at least he was trying to tell a story and he couldn't give a fuck if you liked it or not because he wanted to tell a story the way he wanted to tell it. Disney seems to want to tell a story that we've already seen before while taking your money. Which, hey, that's movies. That's fine, but damn, you gotta miss the old stories that we were once told. But tell me your thoughts. What do you guys think? Are the sequels worse than the prequels? Because to be fair, we're only 2 movies in. We're in the same situation with the sequels that we were with the prequels when they came out, where after the first 2 prequel movies, a lot of people were kind of disenfranchised and like, damn, man, where can we go? And then Revenge of the Sith came out and everybody loved it. It was like, wow, where was this the past 2 films? Hopefully we get that with The Rise of Skywalker. Hopefully we watch The Rise of Skywalker and say, this is the best movie of the sequel trilogy, and why didn't we do this in the first place? I don't know. Tell me your thoughts below. I'm Star Wars Only. Hope you guys enjoyed this talk. Go check out that CNET article because I do think it was a good talk about the sequels comparing to the prequels. And leave your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Star Wars Only. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see y'all next time. May the Force be with you. Always.